People, we're back. We're in the home stretch. Episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 5. It's literally in the title. They weren't even shameful about it at all. The return of the Mandalorian, as the creators have gone full circle as far as acknowledging just how weak their own product is. Chris, what's going on, man?
I'm doing as good as I can, man. I'm doing as good as I can. How about yourself?
Well, I'm good. We're also joined, of course, by our longtime Disney collaborator, Matt at Basic Entertainment. Matt, what's going on, dude?
I'm doing great. Cannot wait to talk about a great episode of The Mandalorian.
All right, yeah, let's roll it off that.
Let's do it. All right, what an intro. What a way to get that show going. People, I just wanted to make all of you guys clear that, before this show, right, Chris and Matt talked for, almost 15 straight minutes of fantasy football talk. It was crazy. It was insane. I've never seen anything so consistent like that. And the best part is that almost none of that featured anything from the Book of Boba Fett, very similar to this episode that we're about to talk about right now. Because this episode, with the exception of the last, I'd say, microsecond right before the credits roll, had absolutely nothing to do with the Book of Boba Fett. It's crazy, Chris. We've gotten We've gotten backdoor pilot episodes. We've gotten spin-off episodes before. Fun fact about Your Precious Office, the episode with Dwight's family in the final season was apparently supposed to originally be a backdoor pilot for an Office spin-off about the Schrute family.
Yeah.
So
the show that should have happened. That creator went on to create Parks and Recreation, one of the worst shows to ever hit the mainstream.
Don't.
If you want to talk about carbon copies, I mean, we're talking about the Book of Boba, so we might as well talk about it. I mean, don't try and do the same thing with different characters. It clearly doesn't work.
It's not.
I think that's really what I'm getting from Book of Boba Fett season 1 and Parks and Rec.
I love how you're giving it way too much credit that you think it's going to go past this one season. I think that's hilarious. But Matt. As far as the similarities, or rather dissimilarities go, was this episode a welcome favor? Was this episode a really nice break from the tedious nature of Book of Boba? Or was this just an overall really bad sign for the future of Star Wars and Disney Plus?
I mean, I'll be honest. This was a great Mandalorian episode. It's a Mandalorian episode. This episode was not Book of Boba Fett. But I enjoyed it. But there is some issues that Chris was yelling throughout this entire, and we were going back and forth in the comments, and Chris, I think you're kind of right with some of this stuff. It's
damn
problem in the opening
one
of the show.
One by one, we all fall. This is the one you finally got. You're finally on the right side, Chris. You finally won the Mainstream Appeal Award for this.
It's kind of weird being on this side of the fence, but sometimes it happens. I do want to say one thing before we settle into the show for this evening. First, thank you guys all so much for being here. Before we even talk about our channel, Matt has a great channel here on YouTube called Basic Entertainment. We're going to link his Instagram and his YouTube channel in the description of this video shortly after we conclude this stream. So check back for those links. Go follow him, subscribe, hit up his TikTok. Support Matt. And if you're here right now and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to us. Hit a like on this video. That'd really help, because you guys know about us, but how cool would it be if 20, 30, 40, hell, hundreds more people knew about us and we can all shit on this show together? That'd be great. And we can all praise the good shows together, which I'm sure we'll get some this year. We just aren't getting this one right now. And so, hit that bell so you get reminded whenever we go live. And of course, subscribe. And Dom, I want to say one thing. I put so much time into the intro sequence of this recap series that we're doing because I thought, this is going to be worth the time I put into it. I think it's some of my best adapted film scoring yet. I think it just all came to life in a way that got me so pumped for this series, and it feels like we're watching a shitty fan film, and I'm like, damn, what did I do all this work for? I don't know.
No, I get that. I absolutely get that.
Sucks, dude. It sucks because I'm not even on Talkin' Thrones, and I'm all right, well, at least that one fits what you guys you guys are putting out a quality show because you're talking about a quality show.
Thank you, dude.
And we're trying our best here, but they're not giving us much to work with at all, dude.
And I guess that shows with this episode, considering the fact that even though this episode literally was straight up, like Matt said, a Mandalorian episode in this, and that they just shoved right into this episode, it was still better than anything previously we got. And I will say, if I can give one positive thing this show's way, not just this episode's way, this show's way, is that it reminded me that the Mandalorian wasn't a fluke, that the Mandalorian at its best actually could be something interesting when it wasn't setting up and like being fan service for other characters. Eric, thank you. You get it. Absolutely. Well, of this season so far, there hasn't been much to work with this entire season. So it kind of falls into that spot by default, I would say. But yeah.
All right.
Like
So Dom,
yes.
Your first topic. I think we definitely have to discuss it, but because Matt is new to this series of ours, I think let's get his take on where he's been at. I mean, we know, but like, does our audience know? And do we know as much as he's let on? Like, Matt, give us your quick, elevator pitch of like how you've been enjoying or reacting to this show so far, and just let us know where your head's been at with it, man.
Well, first of all, I forgot the show was coming out. I'll be honest. It was like at the end of December, No Way Home was going on. I was all hype up for that. And I was like, okay, Boba Fett, that's cool. We're finally getting something of Boba Fett. Once we got it, I was like, the flashbacks, I was like, they're cool, but they're kind of misplaced. They're kind of in the way. They're getting him in stupid situations of getting him in that stupid tank, which, oh my God, I hope they blow up that tank. Everything about it just,
That's like, one pop figure I will not be buying.
Yeah, not at all. He just looks so weak in his little
How are they going to advertise that? Boba naked in pit where flashbacks ensue, or naked in flashback tank? Like that's how they should fucking advertise it.
I think the Red Letter Media had like a great point that they brought up about him, which is that it's like, wow, Boba Fett in the originals was like cool and awesome, and now he's like old and fat and can barely move around.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Oh, that's savage.
It's pretty depressing, but I mean, I was never big on Boba Fett as a character. I thought he was always overrated, just a guy who looked cool in the background. So I really didn't like have that much interest. Like he's cool, that's all that. But the flashbacks, they were cool, but man, they're just so misplaced. Like the half of the show could have been Flashback City, and then the other half could have been this war, which I'm not excited for. I mean, they've been talking about it, and I just don't see the interest in it. Like, I feel like the show like had nothing to say when it was brought up. Like, it felt like there's nothing. Like Boba Fett had the story here. They had nothing. They just did stuff. So.
Yeah, it's like what is actually happening? It's like what is
nothing's happening.
Exactly. It's like what is the point of storytelling? For there to be action and for things to happen. And so far, it's just ultimately, Eric has talked about this in the past. We've kind of all talked about this in the past. It is the structure of these Disney Plus shows and kind of how they variate. It's kind of sad because it kind of shows and demonstrates like what happens when you have like what is pitched as spectacle shows, but without any of the actual spectacle. It's kind of a lot of boring monotony. It's a lot of tediousness. It's very pretty to look at, but it's kind of all that we end up having, unfortunately, which is why, again, we have to talk about the title of this episode, because as we've kind of hinted at a lot, this episode is not an average episode of Book of Boba Fett. This is, we are fully back with Din Djarin. We are fully back with Din Djarin. We're following him on like yet another quest. It's like, it's funny. I literally wrote this in my notes. It's like, wow, it's pretty much like the it's like the must go to structure for a Mandalorian episode. It's like he carries out a bounty. He brings a bounty back to his person in order to find some information. He goes to his other Mandalorians in order to forge more armor and in order to get some more information. Only in this case, we sort of get it. And then he goes to another planet and goes on a crazy side mission. And that's pretty much that. And we're used to that formula, right? It's like absolutely become a formula, but it's a formula that works because guess what? I enjoy most of those episodes. And that's kind of why I enjoyed this episode, even though unfortunately we did have to spend more time with Amy Sedaris because she's another one that's just been contractually obligated to this show, unfortunately, which it's like, wow. Not only can we not get away from Tatooine, we can't get away from Amy Sedaris, who, again, fantastic on BoJack Horseman. Not so much on this show as Pelimoto, I think her name is. I don't know, Chris. Do you in favor or way against like the Amy Sedaris usage here? I can already know your answer, but
she really annoys me. I think she brings this like air of, ABC, Fox 8 p.m. sitcom to the Star Wars universe that like I don't think we need. And also, it's like the way she's acting here just feels so outdated. It feels so like Big Bang Theory, like supporting cast member. It's like that kind of acting isn't cool anymore. Like we have streaming now. Like people want a certain level of quality, and even like networks that produce stuff like that, like CW, like they're at least trying to play the game. Like this just feels so. She's always felt out of touch, but surprisingly enough, it actually she's not the most out of touch thing in this episode because, again, the big thing right now, and I guess we'll transition into our first point now that we pretty much kind of got Matt's take on where we've been at with the show. I mean, Dom literally, and I will copy and paste it so the chat can see it because it's yet again really good. But Dom's topic to start us off tonight was No Doy, the title. And yeah, no Doy, because she's not out of place because this whole freaking episode, as awesome as it was, is out of place. It's out of place.
Yeah, I was watching this. I was like, "Is this Book of Boba Fett or I'm watching Mando?" And it was like, it's dope looking at it, but I was like, "This is such a mess," you know, like structure wise, it's a mess. It's just a freaking mess.
That's where I'll disagree with you, Matt, because structure-wise, it's not a mess. The structure of the actual episode, it's fine.
Of
it's
the episode,
the overall
but the placement of it.
in it, absolutely. So the structure of the
and the
series,
flashbacks too.
the structure of the series is out of place. Like this entire series, like I have no idea what the overall structure of it. Like as far as like a consistent through line across the season, which again, if we're flashing back to like old school TV, okay, like the through line wasn't always consistent. It was much more episodical situation of the week sort of thing. But there were usually like a decent amount of through lines that carried through, and that like they were able to usually resolve it. Here, I have no idea what the hell's going on. Boba's in flashbacks for whole episodes, and there's like some sort of war going on. Then he's back in flashback episodes, and then certain episodes will just be entirely in flashback, and then he's like, "Oh, we're in a war. Okay, so I need help. Okay," and that's just an excuse to do an entire episode of the Mandalorian. It's like, what happened? Did they film 9 and they just like they couldn't? They were mandated at 8, so they were like, "Hey, let's just throw this in here."
Yeah.
Or was this like an episode that wasn't? Well, I just realized it. It was an extra episode that they shot for season 2 that they decided to insert here because they only ended up having 6 episodes.
Yeah, it could have been.
I just realized that works.
The timeline doesn't quite work though, right? Because isn't the conclusion of episode 2 him and Grogu separating?
Maybe it was an epilogue, or maybe it was another episode, and then they just had him redo lines and they can just dub over it because it's not like we hear any of these people actually talking.
No, I think you're totally right. Like it clearly feels like. So I think the issue with this show is we've been saying it for a while, and it seems like the larger channels and reviewers or critics are starting to catch up where the pacing is weird. I mean, if the flashbacks matter, then do they matter more than the main storyline? And isn't the main storyline what every show is predicated on? And don't flashbacks help to like build upon that? I mean, we're not going to go through film school right now. These are the things that we know because we've seen so many shows successfully.
Also only the things we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks.
Right. So we don't need to reiterate it all, but it seems like people are finally like catching up to where we're at with that. So then you have this episode come in, and I think it kind of answers those questions. Like, yeah, this show has problems, whether they realized it or not. I think that they don't think it's as flawed as people are receiving it. But I think it kind of shows just how thin this A-story narrative, this Pike Syndicate coming to take over Tatooine, I think it just really shows how there's kind of nothing there. I'm sure these next 3 episodes are going to be all about what's happening in the present day. But to me, even if it is awesome, I'm going to say we got to put our feet down now, guys, because we cannot let them awe us with an amazing third act because it's kind of unacceptable for them to have something be this messy and this cluttery up until now. Like, it could be great. It probably will be badass, but we can't let them get us like that.
But the thing is, though, is like the main plot. Is there even anything there that you guys are like interested in? Like, are they just doing a poor job at it? Because we got the whole bike stuff, right? And that thing was ridiculous. I mean, episode 3 lost me. I was like, no, I can't deal with this show anymore.
Oh, do you mean the Power Ranger? Do you mean the Power Ranger spinoff?
I mean, I know some people were like complaining about, it doesn't look like Star Wars. I think it looks like Star Wars. It's like a nice addition to like.
It just doesn't look good.
Universe. It just doesn't look good. It looked kind of stupid.
So Matt and Dom, do you guys know that's the director of Alita Battle Angel?
Oh yeah.
Keith just can't get enough of the.
I'll do you one better. Listen. I'll do you one better. This is also the director of the Spy Kids movies, of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I'll say all 4 Spy Kids movies, by the way. The kids movie. Oh my God, like so many bad
Machete.
ones. So many bad ones. Machete.
I was surprised.
And Machete Kills
because he directed a badass episode in season 2, and then he comes out so flat with the direction. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I can't believe this is the same guy who's doing it now. So, okay.
So I think
what was his episode of season 2 again?
That was episode 6, the one where they first reunited with Boba, but then Grogu got kidnapped.
Oh yeah, that shit was actually badass. Yeah,
it was dope.
Damn, that is surprising. So all right, I think we've spoken enough about the problems of the show. I think they're obvious. I think they're known. Do you guys want to actually talk about like how cool of an episode this was, though, and like kind of
Yes,
celebrate
it
it a
was.
little bit?
Yeah.
Please.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So Matt or Dom, take it away. Start us off. Like, what do we like about this episode? You know?
Well, first things first, I just wanted to make you like slightly depressed about one more thing, which is that we only have 2 more episodes of this, not 3. This is a 7-episode season. This is episode 5. So we literally next week could potentially get that badass third act that you were talking about before, especially given like where this episode goes. And man, this episode was just great. It just reminded me of everything that I absolutely loved about The Mandalorian, both seasons 1 and 2. Din Djarin, he's such an awesome character. It just has such a badass way of pacing itself. Like, unlike Boba, who kind of just waddles around and basically just like makes peace with everyone instead of like that badass display that we had last season. Mandalorian, like, Din Djarin comes onto the scene. You know he means business. He doesn't mess around. The helmet is super intimidating. The what's it called? The armor is shinier than ever. You know, it's kind of reiterating all the stuff that we thought was awesome about, like, kind of, you know, the creed and the badass of that. You know, really kind of giving length and legacy and like giving a real sense of mythology to these characters that I feel like Book of Boba Fett overall has just been unable to do. Because at the end of the day, I think Book of Boba Fett is not a show about mythology. Book of Boba Fett is a show about attempting to like find peace within oneself. Although the exterior conflict really does not do a good job as far as demonstrating that. Versus The Mandalorian, I feel like has always had a much better sense of kind of identity of what it is, as far as demonstrating kind of the isolation and loneliness that this character feels from all the rest of the things that are going on outside of him. And I feel like that's what makes his interaction with the characters in his sector of the show so much more satisfying. And we see that on full display here.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. You talk about it, you know, just Mando himself. I was so surprised that Mando is like more badass than Boba
Right.
Fett. Boba Fett, this entire show, I hate when some of these characters start saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do this," and then they send out the bike guys, and then he comes in the jetpack. I'm like, you're talking like you're a badass, but you haven't shown anything yet. And it's like to say that Boba Fett is less intimidating than Mando is pretty disrespectful, because Boba Fett he's like, isn't he supposed to be like the more of the wild one, like the more wild card? Like the way he acts, he has like an attitude to him. But no, Boba Fett, I can't believe what they did with him in this show. I'm actually kind of shocked. But talking about this episode, I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard, once again, she did a great job.
Come a long way since season 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me no ways. Since season 1.
She really did. She really did. I
It
think
looked beautiful. Yeah.
She directed one of the best episodes of season 2. Like, it still shocks me what she pulled off with
Yeah.
that first Bo-Katan
And-
episode.
And I'll say right now, I mean, I'm starting a new thing this year where I start to really categorize and sort of do like my whole best TV episode and things like that, best supporting actress and all that. And
There we go.
for television, because we've just had television's just been so good lately that I feel like I have to now, right? And this is right now, and there hasn't been that many, but it's my top considered episode for best episode of television so far in the year. And I've seen a few things. Afterlife, Cobra Kai, we don't need to name them all, but I've seen a few things so far this year. And like, I really was impressed. I thought it was really smart on them. Really good decision by them to bring Bryce Dallas Howard in, who I think has such a feel of The Mandalorian. I mean, she contributed a few pretty great episodes to that first season, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the first season. I do remember enjoying her episodes a little more than others. She really knows the character. I thought that was smart, but it was almost too effective, because like, everyone is saying how great this episode was, but then realizing it was because we got away from this show that is so goddamn boring.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's really sad, because I think, Matt, all jokes aside, I know I'm a bit silly tonight, but I bring this up because
You're good.
I bring this up. Thank you. I bring this up because of what you said. It's like, and I think I even said this in a TikTok review, whether it was last week or this week's, I just don't like how we're changing Boba. Like that scene at the end of last week. I'm glad you're here, Matt. I wanted to talk to you about it, but I felt like he just sort of cowered. He gets the crime families of Tatooine together. He goes up to them so nicely. He's, hey guys, look, can we just be friends? Pretty please. Please. And then when they say no, he goes, all right, well, can you at least like not knock my sandcastle over or knock my block tower over? Like, I just want to play a little longer. Like, he's just being such a wimp, such a little kid.
Boba's
like, be
just
a man.
a bitch in this show. He's just a bitch.
I know.
I think Disney
yeah.
Plus, oh man, like the thing is though, is like the Disney Plus, they're not gonna go there with some of these characters. And I thought Star Wars was gonna do it, but I guess you can't just market it with Boba Fett. I don't know.
Here's what I'll add to that.
Like, and also too with Boba Fett, who was this character before? You know, they try to find that he's like, he doesn't really have much of identity. We saw him a little bit in the Clone Wars, but he was like a kid. He's the cool guy who looks in the background, the toy, right?
And we liked him in Mando.
but
I will
I
say
don't know.
some
I just
consistent
don't
growth
like.
in the Clone Wars show too.
Yeah, but I just don't know who Boba Fett is.
Hmm.
I just don't. I don't have a good
Yeah. He's
understanding of this
consistently
character.
like a man without a country. And I feel like that's a good segue into our second topic, which is the fact that kind of admits that Boba Fett, not necessarily as a show, but as a concept, was kind of doomed from the get go, right? And I don't know how many people are going to agree with me here, but I'm going to go out on a limb when I say that, unfortunately, this results from probably like a decade and a half, more than a decade, like more than like a couple decades of attempting to develop some sort of side profile based off of this character. You know, there have been comic books published that have shown him going on amazing missions. He's been incredibly well used in video games. But I think the problem is that Boba Fett at the end of the day is not supposed to be like a real fleshed out, like interesting character that you're supposed to root for. He's like kind of
Yeah.
like a one-off. He's an NPC. He's the guy that you bring in to do a job. He's a ruthless bounty hunter. He's the Mike before we actually got to know Mike from Breaking Bad. That's kind of the only purpose that he serves. And unfortunately, and as much as I love Mike from Breaking Bad, there's a reason why Mike only ever plays second fiddle to people and doesn't have his own show and spinoff. There is unfortunately a limit both to however many characters who should get spinoffs. It just so happened that Boba happened to come first before Ahsoka, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to. And that's something that in today's day and age where every character has to have something to do that we kind of can't acknowledge. But at the end of the day, Boba Fett was never really intended to be anything more than that. So that's kind of my take on it as far as why the initial concept was kind of doomed from the get-go. But I don't know, guys. What do you think about that?
I mean, this whole thing was about him and just taking over. Like, the idea in this show was right. It was right. Just everything about it just been poor. But I'm Boba Fett, kind of just a good side guy. Maybe that's what he is. He does have a sidekick with him, so he's not like an original character like Mando. He's an original character, right?
You mean original to like the Disney Plus universe, right?
Well, no, just original in general is like original Star Wars
Mando,
character.
Din Djarin. So the stuff you think you do anything with him, but Boba Fett was just a guy who looked cool.
Yeah, I think if he would have only have been the supporting cast member we met in Mandalorian season 2, then he'd be pretty badass, and I'd be like, okay, he's a big reason why season 2
was keep the same energy.
Yeah, he completely changed. He's completely gone soft or something.
Yeah,
and if there is a reason for that change, this Tusken Raiders flashback sequence where we show him growing an attachment to people wasn't strong enough to justify this drastic of a change for me. I think that's a big issue. That's why I really almost feel like this should have been the episode we got today should have been either a featurette that they drop in between seasons of The Mandalorian as a way to maybe build hype for the Book of Boba Fett, right? How cool would that have been? 6 months after The Mandalorian season 2 drops, we drop this episode. Fennec comes up and she's like, Boba needs you. It's on the house. Book of Boba Fett coming. That would have been awesome.
That would have been hyped up,
that would have broke the internet. Cool. Shit, I wish I didn't just think of that. But like the problem is like anything you can think of is so much better than what we're getting, and I think a lot of it's because of the character assassination that we have. We're witnessing. We're literally witnessing. It's like Dom said. He's a man without a country. He's forever been a wanderer. That's what made him cool. And then we finally got this characterization of him in Mandalorian. And now that he's the star, it's completely different. He's this big softy wearing a robe everywhere, letting people into his freaking private bathtub anytime they need to get healed. It's like, what's going on here, man? I don't know
what it is? It's the reverse Mad Max, where Mad Max was always the least interesting character in his movies, except for the first one where we like got his backstory. But the first one is like almost like just like a low budget B movie. And the series really doesn't kind of begin until Road Warrior. And there's a reason why Max, as seen in Mad Max Fury Road, has like barely any lines and is kind of only like a body, even though the movie is kind of titled after him, where those movies are literally not about the character, it's about the worlds they visit. And I think that's also kind of what makes The Mandalorian work as well, is because The Mandalorian for the longest time is not necessarily a character. He's more so just like a flash that we can kind of project ourselves onto, and that's kind of what makes the adventure so much more like engaging. But with Book of Boba Fett, the fact that it's a character that we kind of already associate with, it kind of blocks a little bit of that psychology because we already have this familiarity with this character. And then the fact that the story is so isolated and so characterizing, it's not what we expect. On top of the fact that, unfortunately, I really think that Robert Rodriguez has just lost his game. He's come a long way. It's been 30 years since El Mariachi and the Mexico trilogy, and the movies that he's been making since then have just not been that good. So like the fact that Alita Battle Angel is like the biggest movie that he's done, and the only reason why he even got that was because of James Cameron to begin with. I don't know, was he really the guy to entrust with the first big Star Wars spinoff? Like, I don't know. That's kind of really the only other thing that I'm like a little bit curious about here.
Clearly, he's not being effective here. I mean, you're way more familiar with his catalog than I am. I've seen some of it when I was a little kid.
It's not good. It's largely not good, is what I'll say.
I mean, like, he's like, it's cool that he's figured out a way to work in Hollywood, but
he seemed passionate.
do not.
He seemed passionate about Boba Fett. I don't know if you saw it was like they did the behind the scenes Mando. He was like going in the backyard and stuff, doing stuff, cool tricks, and that's why we got a dope episode. But in here, just I don't know. It just seems so tasteless.
Oh, you mean when he was playing guitar with the puppet Grogu?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he seemed passionate.
I don't know. Passion doesn't always make everything, I guess.
Also, it's very easy to seem passionate. People forget that passion does not make these things. These things are a job, first and foremost.
And that one episode, not this series.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about now.
Not this series.
The gallery, right?
The gallery, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. I mean, like, this episode was awesome. Like, it kind of made me miss Mandalorian, but then I, like, zoom out, and I think the titular character wasn't seen once. The drama that Mandalorian has now been folded into isn't really there. It's just, okay, cool, we got the Mandalorian theme, and we like this guy, and his show was received well by pretty much everyone, and it even won some of the critics over, like myself, in its second season. So, awesome. We're pumped, because it's actually something good, finally, on our weekly Star Wars binge, but it just sucks that it's coming from the wrong reasons. Like, what? I feel like I've been a good person. I pray, I've given money to charity. I've donated clothes to Goodwill. It's like, why are they doing this to me, man? I feel targeted. I feel attacked. Like, they're ruining Star Wars. Like, you guys have Marvel. It's perfect. You guys love it. Like, this was my Marvel, and they're just crushing people.
I don't feel like this is like a Star Wars killer, though. We had that like back in 2019. I don't go too far with that.
We already suffered the ultimate Star Wars killer.
Would
Chris,
you kick someone when they're down?
I was super, dude. When I went to go watch Rise of Skywalker, the next day I feel like I lost a family member. I was like, Star Wars is never gonna pick up for that. And then when we got Mando, I was like, okay, this is cool, And then we got season 2. I was like,
well, the craziest part is that Mando was unfortunately a warm up for Rise of Skywalker. It's the most disappointing part. Thank God we had the finale like that weekend. Could you imagine if we hadn't?
Oh, God, you're right. I forgot about the timing on that.
Yeah.
Dude, remember when we were in a theater, Dom, and people were literally cheering and clapping because it was so bad? People were like, this shit sucks, and everyone was cheering and clapping and laughing.
Man. Yet another reason why I missed 2019, even if some of the movies were colossally bad.
I don't know. Matt, bring us back to a little more of like a serious point here as we're talking about like, this episode being great, but like it being great in a shitty show, right? Like, I don't know, man.
It was great. But they set up some cool stuff here too with season 3 of Mando. It looks like Mando's gonna have to get over little Grogu. It's nice to see him on his own. The big dude wanted to fight for the sword. That's gonna be big conflict over the Darksaber.
That was more Clone Wars reference, Clone Wars and Rebels references. That's all that was.
Yeah, but I think they're leading on to like a civil war because I think Bo-Katan's coming back in season 3. I mean, what can you see for season 3 for like Mando? Besides
only way for me that fixes it is another Mandalorian war. That's all that fixes it. For me.
That's what's gonna happen probably, most likely.
So Dom, it's like you had the foresight here. You knew where the conversation would go.
It's almost like I saw into the Force with it because that's how predictable this shit has become.
Because
I'm excited for that though.
You dropped Civil War, and famously, Marvel has a movie that a lot of people regard as like a top 5 Marvel movie called Civil War because it's inside of a cinematic universe, right? So the last topic Dom brought up, which is perfect, and I think either Matt or Dom jump in and start this topic off. Like, we're officially establishing a Star Wars cinematic universe. We see that now, but is it working? What do you guys think?
I mean, at this point, unfortunately, it's the situation of kind of the same thing that happened to Marvel, which is where they're kind of too big to fail. Like, put it this way, Marvel, by the time they got to the Avengers, like the Avengers was the last time they actually like took a risk. And by that point, Disney had already bought them. And so by that point, it's like Disney has so much money that it's literally, it's too big to fail. So because even if Book of Boba Fett is not as well received, okay, so it still nets them subscribers. And then you have Bad Batch season 2, and then you have Andor, and then you have Obi-Wan, and then you have Mando season 3, and then you have Ahsoka. It's literally like this is everything that they were trying to do and that failed with the movies because they still had to plan it around the trilogy format. But now that that kind of format is done, and now that they've like kind of fully embraced the streaming model, sky's the limit as far as just how much content they're going to shove down our throats. Like Star Wars, and ultimately kind of where it's become at this point is that Star Wars is just yet another piece of disposable IP. And that's so tragic to say, but like, I don't know, Matt. Like, am I
Can't
wrong?
be too mad about it. I mean, we're getting some. We should get some cool stuff. I don't think this series should say Star Wars is bad. Star Wars is this. It's just mediocre. This is just let's forget about this. But we got stuff coming up. I'm excited for Obi-Wan. I know you're excited for what's the one coming? Like, it's going way before
Acolyte.
There you go.
Yeah, that should be cool.
Acolyte.
Yeah.
That should be cool.
2023 might be the 2022 for Marvel as far as Star Wars goes because we get Acolyte and Ahsoka.
Yeah. So you're gonna get content, but just see how good it is, and I think it's gonna come out good. I think Star Wars, with their quality, when they try their best, with the great duo of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, I think they come out with good stuff. I think Mando season 2 is like the best Disney Plus series of all, and we had like four Marvel series last year. So
yeah,
and it washed all of
five
them, so.
If you count What If. What's called 5 if you count What If.
What If? Yeah. So
Matt, so it seems like you're being hopeful, even though
I'm always hopeful. Always hopeful.
He's still
all right, but you don't feel burned
Chris,
anything?
Chris,
Like,
I don't feel
Of
burned
course
about
you can be hopeful.
because my expectations, I'll be honest, my expectations were not high in this show. So there's nothing much to be disappointed about. It's just a run-of-the-mill show that's has some cool stuff here and there. Had a dope episode today, but it's just not. I know there's gonna be better coming down the line. I don't feel like this is the end of worlds or anything like that. I think we should, we're okay. We're okay with Star Wars. We're okay.
yeah, I think it's to answer the question we've posed here.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Matt. Finish up.
But I want to ask this question: what would you like to see in Star Wars, Chris? Because we got this stuff coming up. I don't know what they're doing with the movies. It seems like honestly they should not even
ever
focus.
see a Star Wars movie ever again.
They shouldn't. I think streaming series is the way to go right now, especially with Star Wars. What do you want to see, like personally, as a Star Wars fan?
Well, I want to see new planets. I actually really appreciate seeing that sort of ring halo
Yeah, that
type
was dope.
city that we saw today. That was actually really dope because this is a galaxy of infinite possibilities, and we just keep throwing sand on top of all the cables that we're running and hoping people don't see them. Like, it's like, come on now. Like, enough of this shit. You know, I know what Tatooine looks like. Okay, double suns, blue milk. I got it, guys. I
Yeah.
know. I'll ace the test with my eyes closed. I know. I know. What I really want to see is what I grew up loving, which is just unapologetic creativity that only cares about telling a good story, that isn't trying to make sure this character pops up here and says this line here to remind us about his upcoming season and make sure that she's seen so we don't forget about her so we can push her thread line across all these different shows. I just think you have the world's greatest sandbox in Star Wars to just jump into now that George Lucas has relinquished the reins and just create anything you want in it. So why do we keep tying it back to the Skywalkers? Why do we keep staying on Tatooine? That's why I really appreciated this episode. You know, Mandalorian, he's a new character as far as the George Lucas era is concerned. He's a new addition by young creators contributing their own to the canon that Lucas built. And this city was really cool. I like this whole new order of Mandalorians that we saw today. You know, I forget her name, but the
Armorer.
the armorer. Yeah, I like that. That's I want more of that type of thing. But I don't want them to feel the need to make every single show have a crossover episode like it's the CW in 2017, you know?
Right.
Oh,
No,
man.
that's a good point.
Low
That is a
blow.
good
If
point.
Disney Plus comes to that level, that is a low blow indeed. So, Chris, as far as what we have to look forward to now in the Star Wars cinematic universe, are you looking forward to when we eventually like have 10 of these things and we could rank like all 10 of the Star Wars Disney Plus shows? Because we're close. We're close. We're close. We got what? Mando, Boba, Clone Wars, Bad Batch. That's 4. We're one away from 5, man. And by the time we're done with this year, we're gonna have what, like 8, 9, something like that.
I'd want more live action in the mix first before we can do that. I'm not really I just want it to be good. Like, I really love Star Wars so much. I just want it to be good, you know? Just give me more of like this episode. But if I'm going to be completely honest, like this episode was good, but was it amazing? I don't know. It was just finally something worth watching after 4 weeks of being let down.
And
You know what I mean?
what I'll say in order to kind of tie this off is that and the reason why this kind of affects my star rating is that this episode individually is a 4-star episode easily. But because I realize now that in hindsight, Mando is now unfortunately going to get dragged from his own badass TV show into Boba's dreary, boring nonsense, that kind of lowers this almost to a 3.5 for me, knowing that that's going to happen in the last 2.
I think like this show and the whole Disney Plus Star Wars universe is just all about destroying what's left of the Mandalorians. Like, could you imagine if Mando goes in to help out Boba and he ends up dying? Like, as all those Mandos died in the first season, it's just like Filoni and Favreau's sick, twisted way just to kill off the Mandalorians.
Oh, man.
Like the only cool thing.
That kills me about Filoni, because Filoni's the dude that like created them and like actually gave them credence. He saw like Boba Fett and was like, hey, I can actually do something cool with him. And he did. And it was amazing.
Yeah. Well,
like watch the Clone Wars if you don't believe me. The shit that he pulls off with the Mandalorians in that show is insane.
Yeah, it's so sad. I just hope it gets better, but I can sound like a broken record all day. So should we do some closing thoughts and star ratings?
Yeah.
I know you kind of started us off there, Dom.
Yeah.
So you want to finish up with your final thoughts, or?
Yeah, this episode was incredible, but at the end of the day, what does it pan out? What does it mean for the future? Only time will tell. It's all that I can really say at this point.
Yeah. We'll save our guest for last. Yeah, 3.5. It was obviously a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Like, I wasn't expecting it. It was a nice way to start my day off. The filmmaking was there. It was all what I want to see. I just would have liked to have seen this level of quality and intrigue in the actual series we're watching. But I don't know. Hey, I guess there's always next Disney Plus series. And for better or for worse,
we're getting that.
Yeah. Matt, what about you, man? Final star rating?
4 stars. 4 stars. Don't even look at it as a Boba Fett show. I mean, I don't care about Boba Fett. I'm sorry, guys. I really don't care about this guy at all. He could have just stayed in that Sarlacc pit. All I care about.
As far as I'm concerned, he still is.
Yeah, that's not the same Boba.
And everything that's been happening has been like a hallucination in his head as he's slowly.
It's
being
all
digested.
a dream. It's a dream within a dream.
If they make that the ending, if they make that
I quit this channel. I quit this YouTube channel. That's literally a.
I'll save it though.
It was all a dream.
I would save it though, because then we know the real Boba's out there, and this
that would save it. But I would not ever be on this. I'd quit. There'd be a vacant spot. I would quit. I'd quit creating art and music and everything. If that's such an easy, stupid thing. Oh man,
that's cheap. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about
Matt. You and I will handle it from there.
Yeah, Mandalorian awesome. Can't wait for season 3.
Mando good, Boba bad.
Boba bad.
I think the general consensus.
Speaking of shit that's awesome, Matt, you've been absolutely crushing it with the rebrand. Tell them where they can find you. Keep up to date with everything you do, man.
Well, you guys can follow me right there. Basic Entertainment. I pretty much do the same thing that these guys do. These great discussions, great views, great reactions. And you guys can also follow me on TikTok, which I'm pushing more. That's going to be Basic Entertain. So take out MENT and just put entertain, and you're good and go. And I post more there, news and stuff and funny videos. So go ahead and check that out. And of course, thank you guys for inviting. Well, I mean, I kind of invited myself. I mean, you guys invited me, pushing me. I've been getting on this show. I've been, busy, sick like 3 times. I'm like, come on, man, I need to get on this show. And finally I'm here, and hopefully I can get back. So thank you guys.
Anytime, man. We love having you. You're always invited. I know you know that. It's always a blast to chat with you, man. And there's going to be many more of these, for better or for worse. There's going to be many more of these guys. So we'll of course be on Matt's channel again in due time. So go and follow him and get subscribed. And you guys can do the same for us. That'd be really greatly appreciated. Hit the like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button. Turn that bell on so you get notified and never miss when we post. We're on TikTok now, guys. At the Talkin TV podcast. Both Dom and I pumping out content there left and right. We're on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Breaker, Google, all the podcasting platforms. Just type in. No. If I did, hey, go search it and find out. Right at the Talkin TV podcast. Of course, follow us on Instagram at official Talkin TV podcast. You can also follow me at Christian Ivanko. Ivanko is spelled Evanko. I'm on every single streaming service you can find. I'm a musician. My music is my name, Christian Ivanko. Ivanko spelled Evanko. Please go check that out. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you check it out, let me know what you think too. That's always fun. Even if you don't like it, I'm always open to feedback. Makes us better. And the last thing I want you to go and check out is my good friend Dom and his personal endeavors. Dom, where can they find you, man?
At Movie Nerd Reviews, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Serialize, you guys. But of course, more importantly, follow the @official Talkin TV podcast across Facebook and Instagram, and soon to be on Twitter. You guys are going to see much more of a Twitter presence from us going forward, and TikTok, both Movie Nerd Reviews and Talkin TV as well. That's the most important. Follow Matt, follow Chris. This has been great. We have 2 more weeks left of this torture, and then we'll finally be done with this round of Disney Plusing. It's been fun, guys. 12 seasons in a short film, and watch more movies. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.